Hi, I hope you're doing well. My name is Verena, and today we're going to talk about Hestia. Have you ever heard of Hestia? Hestia is the goddess of the hearth. She's not that well known nowadays due to a couple of reasons. The main one probably being the fact that she wasn't that much portrayed by painters and sculptors in a human form. She was more of a felt goddess who was represented by the fire that warmed our homes. So people felt her presence through the warmth, through the light and the food that she provided to the household. Hestia is a very intuitive goddess who really tries to look inwards and get in touch with her intuition so she can understand her own inner values and act according to them. By doing so, she can be very detached from the others, which enables her to have a very good and distant and objective point of view of the other, being able to understand and identify their patterns and understand why they act and react in the way that they do. But on the other hand, this detached Hestia can also be so detached that she cannot really understand what is happening around her. She's not really concerned about it. She focuses only on herself. Nonetheless, this is what she looks forward to it the most, to be in solitude, in her own silence and tranquility. Hestia is an Olympian from birthright, the first daughter of Rhea and Cronus. However, she wasn't really interested in any love or war affairs. She even refused marriage proposals coming from Poseidon and Apollo, and she told Zeus that she would never get married. Hestia's rejection is very symbolic, because by rejecting Apollo, she's also rejecting everything that he represents and that would take her off her center. So she's basically saying no to the intellectual life, the logic, and the reason, because this would invalidate what is most precious to her, which is her intuition. When she says no to Poseidon, she's saying no to the oceanic feelings that could flood her. Because this characteristic that she has of emotional detachment helps her to see things clearly. However, if she allows Poseidon in, she's also allowing all these emotions that would rise with the relationship and which would take her off her center. So metaphorically, by saying no to these marriage proposals, she's also saying no to the intellectual and the emotional forces that could pull her and any woman out and away from her center. So instead of trying to force Hestia into marriage, Zeus put her in the center of the house and had the mortals make offerings to her in exchange of warmth and food. That's why there was no temple or home in ancient Greece without inviting Hestia in. And that's why she's very present in rituals. Having a fireplace in ancient Greece used to be something very common, and they would use the sacred fire from it in many rituals. So for instance, when a couple got married, the mother of the bride would light up a torch in her own fireplace in her own household and would take all the way to the couple's new house and light up their new fireplace. And this would invite Hestia in and then consecrate their new home. And this is very beautiful because it symbolizes this ancestrality, the continuity of a lineage, everything that they share in common, their common identity. So Hestia is very much related to fire, but not really the fire that brings movement to our lives or that invites us to action. It's the fire that brings us warmth, that brings us light, that brings us this sense of comfort, of coziness. So this warmth that is going to make everyone of the family get together around the fireplace. So maybe you can think of Hestia as this friend that is going to sit with you around the fireplace and listen to you. She's a perfect listener, and she will hold space for you. She will keep the energy up so you can feel supported by her. And she's going to listen to you without meddling, without interfering, and she will embrace this. with all her warmth from the fireplace. A woman who follows Hestia's archetype is characterized by housekeeping, but not as a chore, but something that is personally meaningful to her, that brings her into a meditative state, that brings her calm, and it makes her feel centered. By taking care of her house, she can simply let go of all the thoughts in her head and be present in the moment. This is how she connects to herself. We can see this in Japanese traditions or even in Buddhism, for example. Buddhists focus on achieving enlightenment through the present moment, through being active and present right now, through our daily chores. So if you're doing the dishes, you're not thinking of what you're going to do next, or on the comment that a friend made yesterday. No, you're 100% focused on doing that specific chore. And this can be very meditative. You can enter in this state of mind that you clear your thoughts and you're just like present in that moment doing that action. And this can bring lots of inner peace. You can really feel yourself quite centered. And we see this, for instance, as well in the Japanese tea ritual, that they have to serve the tea in a specific way. This can also become quite a meditative practice, as well as their calligraphy, that is almost a form of art, that you just don't simply write a letter, you draw symbols, and connecting the symbols in different ways is going to bring different meanings to what you're trying to say. So what Hestia really does is that she focuses on being present, living the moment, and being spontaneous, listening to her own body and the cycles of nature. So she symbolizes this coming back to our essence. That's why Hestia women can really thrive in religious communities, especially the ones that have meditation as their most common practice. Since she's not really tied to external factors, her emotions and her actions are not really controlled by her ego. And all her characteristics makes her a very special archetype to counterbalance the others that we have inside us. So if, for instance, we have a very strong, vulnerable goddess acting within us, we can use Hestia's archetype to counterbalance this. So we can use her emotional detachment to counterbalance our emotional intimacy that we have so strongly as a vulnerable goddess. So the reason that we actually are making our first video about Hestia is because lately we have been invited to be at home, to not leave our house as much as before. And it's the first time probably in forever that we are obliged to stay in our homes. That we need to reorganize our routines, create new habits, and kind of transform our lifestyle. And being at home for such a long time, I can even see from my experience how much I fold my laundry in a different way. I mean, every time I used to fold my laundry before, I would be focused on doing it very fast because, well, I had to go to work, I had to prepare dinner, I had to this or that. And now that I've been home for such a long time, I realized that I really use the folding laundry moment to connect with myself. I do it with so much precision and with so much care that I didn't used to do before, and not really mattering how much time that I actually take on that action. And the way I see it is that we are being invited by Hestia to ground ourselves in the middle of all this chaos and disorder. That she's bringing us the opportunity to do stuff in a different way that is going to help us be centered and more connected with ourselves, even though there's so much craziness happening in the world right now. So she's helping us find meaning in our lives, connecting ourselves to our essence, and giving us the opportunity to relate to our space and our home in a different way. A Hestia woman is probably not going to be famous or be known by many people. She's probably just going to stay in the background. And maybe this is one of the reasons why she was not incorporated in the Goddess Will test. If you don't know anything about the Goddess Will test, just go to our IG highlights and we explain how to take it. But basically is a test that will give you a goddess profile, your goddess profile, and you can identify which goddesses are acting within you. But I believe that she was not put in the test for quite a few reasons. Let's start with the fact that she completely withdrew from everything and everyone. So she is not part of any of the very famous myths that we know nowadays. But also, from when Hestia used to be worshipped to today, we can see that Western cultures have really emphasized the duality between feminine and masculine energies, which maybe you can know a little bit more if you watch our video about feminine and masculine energies. But the more we started valuing this masculine energy, encouraging this energy in our lives, the more we started forgetting Hestia and devaluing her. So her archetype started losing strength. We started valuing housekeeping, not for the peace that it brings to a woman, but for the sake of pleasing someone else. So this combination forced her out of our homes, out of our lives. And in consequence, this is maybe one of the reasons that she is not very rooted in our collective unconscious. But it doesn't really matter the reasons why she is or not on the test. It matters the fact that we can still use her archetype to our benefit, to understanding ourselves better, and bring her archetype to bring us balance. And I hope that this video gave you an overview of who Hestia is. And on the next one, we will give you some more tips on how to connect with her and how to honor her in your life. So I hope that you really enjoyed it. Don't forget to take the test if you haven't yet, so you know which goddesses are acting within you. And I see you in the next video. Bye-bye.